Princess Vera of House Silvertide stood on the observation balcony of her family's orbital palace, watching human ships arrive for the first official diplomatic summit between Earth and the CarriedHer Empire. She was the youngest of 3 royal daughters, brilliant and sharp-tongued, and the only one who had refused every proposed political marriage. Dozens of suitors from prominent houses had been rejected over the years until her father, the emperor, reluctantly accepted her vow never to marry. She'd argued eloquently that her value to the empire was greater as an independent advisor than as a bargaining chip in alliances. Her sisters and the court whispered she was simply afraid of intimacy, unable to trust anyone after watching her mother's arranged marriage turn into decades of polite misery. Vera told herself she didn't care what they thought. She had her books, her diplomatic work, her freedom. That was enough. The human delegation arrived with much ceremony, and Vera was assigned to give them a cultural orientation tour of the palace complex. She expected typical diplomatic functionaries, polished and political and fake. Instead, she met Archer Hayes, Earth's cultural anthropologist, and apparently the one human who'd bothered to study CarriedHer language and customs before arriving. When she greeted the delegation in formal CarriedHer, he responded fluently, then immediately apologized for his accent. When she conducted the tour with practiced royal composure, he asked genuine questions about art and architecture that showed he'd actually studied her people's history. And when they reached the royal gardens, where she was supposed to deliver a scripted speech about CarriedHer reverence for nature, he noticed her discomfort and quietly asked if she'd rather just walk. The question startled her. No one asked what she'd rather do. She was a princess, her preferences were irrelevant to duty. But his eyes were kind and curious, not calculating, and she found herself saying yes. Over the following weeks, as the summit progressed through endless formal sessions, Vera and Archer kept finding themselves in conversation. He treated her like a person, not a title. Asked her opinions on philosophy and art, debated history without deference, made her laugh with observations about the absurdity of diplomatic protocol. He was brilliant and self-deprecating, endlessly curious about her culture, but never exoticizing it. Most importantly, he listened, really listened, not to find advantage or leverage, but because he genuinely wanted to understand. Vera found herself seeking him out between sessions, showing him parts of the palace she'd never shown anyone, sharing thoughts she usually kept locked away. When she mentioned her vow never to marry, expecting judgment or the usual arguments about duty, Archer simply nodded. Makes sense. I've seen enough arranged marriages in my anthropological work to know they're more about politics than people. Your choice to opt out takes courage. The validation staggered her. For the first time, someone saw her vow not as rejection of duty, but as assertion of self. They were in the archive library when she realized she was falling for him. Archer was examining an ancient CarriedHer text about pre-empire clan structures, reading the old script haltingly but with genuine fascination, and she was watching his face instead of the text. The way his eyes lit up when he understood a connection. The careful respect with which he handled pages older than human civilization. The question he asked about whether her people missed the clan structures, whether empire came at the cost of intimacy. Suddenly, Vera understood that her vow wasn't about protecting herself from marriage. It was about protecting herself from the wrong marriage, from becoming like her mother, trapped in duty without choice. But Archer wasn't asking for duty. He was just asking to know her. When she realized he was waiting for her answer about the clans, she said quietly, "I think we do miss it. I think that's why I swore never to marry. Because every proposed match was about empire and alliance, never about this." She gestured between them at the comfortable silence and shared curiosity. Archer met her eyes, and something passed between them that needed no translation. Their growing connection didn't go unnoticed. Vera's father summoned her and expressed concern, not that she was interested in a human, but that she was breaking her vow. "You said you'd never marry. Now the court watches you with this human scholar and sees a princess who might be convinced after all. If you choose him, every rejected suitor will demand to know why an outsider succeeded where they failed." Vera argued that her vow was against political marriage, not against choosing someone for herself. Her father, surprisingly, smiled. "Then choose, daughter. But understand that choosing a human when you refused a dozen CarriedHer nobles will send a message that Earth matters to you personally. The Empire will follow that signal. Your marriage, if it happens, will never be purely personal. Vera realized the trap. If she pursued Archer, it became political whether she wanted it to or not. She could make him the bridge between species or the wedge that drives them apart. That evening, she told Archer everything: the political implications, the centuries of tradition she'd be breaking, the scrutiny they'd face. I swore I'd never marry because I couldn't stand the idea of my life being a transaction. But if I marry you, that's exactly what it becomes to everyone watching. I don't know how to want you and not turn you into a political symbol. Archer was quiet for a long moment. In anthropology, there's this concept called dual reality, where something can be both personal and symbolic simultaneously, and you don't have to choose. Your choice can be yours and also matter to your empire. Those aren't mutually exclusive. He took her hand carefully. I didn't come here looking to marry a princess. I came to learn about your people. But I found you, brilliant and fierce and so determined to be more than what people expect. If choosing me breaks your vow, then don't choose me. But if your vow was really about refusing to be a bargaining chip, then choosing freely isn't breaking it. It's fulfilling it. Vera realized he was right. Her vow was about agency, not isolation. Choosing Archer because she wanted him, consequences and all, honored that vow more than refusing every connection to prove a point. But she made a decision. If they did this, they did it right. No secret romance that could be used against them later. She'd go to her father formally and ask permission to court a human, making it clear this was her choice. The request sent shockwaves through the court, but Vera stood firm. She loved Archer not despite him being human, but because he saw her clearly, treated her fully. If the Empire couldn't handle their princess choosing someone who valued her as a person, maybe the Empire needed to evolve. Her father granted permission with conditions. The courtship would be public and slow, giving both families time to negotiate terms. If it led to marriage, it would be the first formal union between CarriedHer royalty and humanity, setting precedent. Archer agreed, joking that being courted under political scrutiny wasn't in his anthropologist training. Over the following year, their relationship unfolded in view of both civilizations. Some CarriedHer nobles were horrified, others saw it as bold evolution. Earth's media called it a fairy tale, Earth's politicians saw strategic advantage. But Vera and Archer navigated it together, holding on to what started it all: genuine connection. When he finally proposed, privately in the archive library where she first realized she loved him, Vera said yes without hesitation. The wedding was a massive diplomatic event, merging traditions in ways that sometimes clashed and sometimes harmonized beautifully. As Vera walked toward Archer in a gown combining the flowing fabrics of her people with the structured tailoring of his, she thought about her vow. She'd sworn never to marry, meant never to be reduced to alliance material, never to disappear into someone else's expectations. But marrying Archer didn't break that vow. It transformed